Have you ever found yourself in a place that felt wrong, uncomfortable, or simply not where you imagined you'd be? Imagine if that place didn't define you. What if it was who you were, right there, that mattered more than anything around you? Today, we're exploring a Stoic concept that turns conventional thinking on its head. The idea that the person you are matters far more than the place you find yourself. It's a thought that has shaped resilient minds for centuries. Imagine being able to face any environment, any challenge with confidence, not because of what's around you, but because of what's within you. In this video, we'll break down how the Stoics believed in the power of internal strength over external comfort, a mindset shift that helps you not only survive but thrive, no matter where life takes you. And make sure to stick around for a special bonus at the end, an ancient Stoic technique to instantly shift your mindset, no matter what life throws at you. What if you realized that every time you felt uncomfortable in a new situation, it was an opportunity, not a setback? The Stoics taught that the true essence of a person isn't dictated by where they are, but by who they are. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote extensively on how external environments are often out of our control, but what's within us, the decisions, values, and attitudes, can always be managed. Take Marcus Aurelius himself. Despite ruling an empire filled with conflict, plague, and political strife, his writings reveal a focus not on the chaos around him, but on nurturing his inner character. He famously wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts," reminding us that our internal state shapes our experiences, not the other way around. So, how do you apply this to your life? It starts with recognizing that discomfort isn't something to be feared or avoided. It's a prompt to turn inward. When you're in an unfamiliar place or facing a challenging situation, pause. Ask yourself, how can I show up as the best version of myself, regardless of the circumstances? This shifts your focus from trying to control the uncontrollable to mastering what's within your grasp. You might think that your happiness hinges on your surroundings, a beautiful home, a dream job, the right people. But what if the greatest source of peace was simply a matter of how you chose to think? It's a reminder that even if everything around you falls apart, your character remains a constant source of strength. But what happens when the world seems completely against you? In the next part, we'll see how Stoicism helps you thrive, not just survive, in the toughest of places. Have you ever thought about how much power you actually have, even when life feels completely beyond your control? Stoicism emphasizes that while we may not have control over the places or situations we find ourselves in, we do have control over our inner responses. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, insisted that while circumstances can be limiting, the mind is boundless. He believed that strength comes from adapting our perception and response to our environment, not from the environment adapting to us. Epictetus himself was born into slavery, a place few would consider ideal. Yet, he transformed his mind into a sanctuary of freedom and resilience, teaching others that true liberty lies within. This wasn't just theory, it was the reality of a man who turned his internal world into a fortress against external circumstances, showing that even a slave can be free if his mind is unchained. To bring this into your life, try this. The next time you face a setback or find yourself in a situation that feels restrictive, instead of resisting, redirect your energy. Ask yourself, how can I respond in a way that strengthens me? This shift is where growth happens. Not from changing the place you're in, but from changing the way you think about it. Many people think that real change comes from external freedom, like quitting a stressful job or moving to a new city. But Stoicism suggests that without internal strength, those changes are just new settings for the same struggles. True freedom isn't about escaping your circumstances, but rising above them through inner transformation. Now you may wonder, how do you build this inner strength? In the following section, we'll uncover Stoic techniques to cultivate resilience in the face of any adversity. What if you could handle any setback without losing your sense of self or peace of mind? Resilience in Stoicism isn't about denying pain or hardship. It's about facing those challenges with a fortified mind. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, spoke often about preparing ourselves for life's difficulties, teaching that enduring hardship with courage makes us unshakable. His words remind us that life's challenges are not only unavoidable, but essential for growth. Seneca lived through exiles, political turmoil, and personal loss, yet his writings reflect a mind that embraced these trials as tests of character. He once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." This wasn't just rhetoric for Seneca. He actively practiced finding strength in adversity, viewing each hardship as a training ground for resilience. Start practicing resilience by reframing your mindset toward discomfort. Instead of seeing adversity as something that diminishes you, consider it as something that sharpens you. When facing a setback, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is this teaching me?" This question doesn't eliminate the hardship, but it changes your relationship to it, shifting you from victimhood to empowerment. Many think resilience is about always bouncing back stronger. But the Stoic approach to resilience is not about being unbreakable, it's about being adaptable. Real resilience, the Stoics say, is the ability to keep your values intact regardless of circumstances, even when they threaten to shake you to your core. So how do you remain true to your values when life feels like it's constantly testing them? In the next section, we'll explore how Stoic values act as an anchor, keeping you steady in the most turbulent times. Imagine having an anchor so strong that even life's wildest storms couldn't pull you off course. For the Stoics, values like integrity, courage, and wisdom weren't just ideals, they were guiding principles that defined their actions, no matter the situation. The idea was simple but powerful. If you know what you stand for, external events can't uproot you. Epictetus, who was born a slave, taught that by focusing on our inner values, we create stability that external circumstances can't shake. Epictetus lived a life of hardship and restraint, but he was unwavering in his values. He once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid," pointing to the Stoics' willingness to prioritize virtue over appearance. His values became his sanctuary. No matter how restrictive his circumstances were, he held firmly to integrity, courage, and wisdom, reminding us that a person's worth is not in their status, but in their character. Identify and prioritize your own core values. Write them down and consider them whenever you make a decision, especially under pressure. For example, if you value honesty, let it guide your actions even when it feels inconvenient or challenging. By aligning your actions with your values, you'll find a source of stability within yourself, an anchor that holds you steady no matter where life takes you. Most people think of values as ideals to aspire to, but for the Stoics, values were non-negotiables. It wasn't enough to admire courage or honesty. They believed these qualities had to be lived, even if it meant standing alone. This approach isn't always comfortable, but it's profoundly liberating, because when your actions are aligned with your deepest values, the opinions and judgments of others lose their power. But what happens when the world challenges those values, pushing you to the edge? In the next section, we'll explore how Stoics handled criticism and opposition without losing their sense of self. How do you stay true to yourself when everyone else seems to be against you? The Stoics taught that staying true to one's values often means facing criticism, ridicule, or even hostility. They believed that true strength isn't found in bending to the world's expectations, but in standing firm in the face of opposition. In other words, criticism is an opportunity to strengthen one's resolve rather than something to fear. Consider the example of Cato the Younger, a Roman statesman and Stoic, known for his unwavering commitment to his principles, even when it put him at odds with powerful figures like Julius Caesar. Cato was criticized and even ridiculed for his stance against corruption and moral decay, but he refused to compromise. His resilience became legendary. He stood firm, a reminder that when we value integrity over approval, we cultivate a strength that transcends popularity. When you encounter criticism, ask yourself, is this feedback about my character or just an opinion? The Stoic approach to criticism is to welcome constructive feedback for growth, but to disregard opinions that don't align with your values. This doesn't mean dismissing all criticism. Rather, it's about distinguishing between useful insights and mere noise. By separating the two, you can use criticism as a tool for self-improvement rather than a source of self-doubt. Many believe that criticism is something to defend against, but Stoicism flips this idea. It suggests that if we allow ourselves to be changed by every judgment thrown our way, we lose control over our identity. Instead, the Stoics encourage us to see opposition as a test of character, a way to solidify what we stand for, rather than something to fear or avoid. Standing firm against opposition builds inner strength, but how does that translate into everyday peace? In the next section, we'll look at Stoic practices to maintain calm in a chaotic world. What if you could remain calm and centered, no matter what's happening around you? The Stoics placed immense value on inner tranquility, teaching that peace is an internal state rather than something dependent on external conditions. Marcus Aurelius believed that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This quote highlights a foundational Stoic practice, focusing on what we can control rather than letting the uncontrollable dictate our inner peace. The Stoics understood that life is inherently unpredictable and chaotic, but instead of letting this uncertainty create anxiety, they embraced it as a constant. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, often reflected on the unpredictability of life, reminding himself to focus on his thoughts and reactions instead of external disturbances. This practice allowed him to maintain composure, even when faced with political turmoil and personal loss. To bring this into your own life, start by practicing what the Stoics called negative visualization. This involves imagining potential challenges or setbacks before they happen, not to dwell on fear, but to prepare yourself mentally. When you imagine difficult situations and visualize your response, you create a mental resilience that can reduce anxiety when real challenges arise. By regularly practicing this technique, you'll find yourself less affected by life's chaos and more able to stay calm and focused. Many people think peace comes from eliminating stress or avoiding conflict. But the Stoics saw peace as something we carry within, regardless of life's turbulence. True calm isn't about escaping chaos. It's about learning to stand tall in the middle of it. So we know how to cultivate calm. But how do we ensure that our lives stay aligned with our highest values? In the next section, we'll explore the Stoic practice of daily reflection and how it keeps us on course. What if a few minutes of reflection each day could ensure you stay true to yourself, no matter what happens? For the Stoics, daily reflection was more than just a habit. It was a tool for personal growth and accountability. By taking time each day to reflect on their actions, they ensured that their lives aligned with their values. Seneca described this practice as an audit of his day, where he'd examine not only what he did, but why he did it. This simple practice kept him rooted in his principles and aware of areas for improvement. Seneca's evening reflection involved reviewing each moment of his day, asking himself if he had acted justly, courageously, and with wisdom. This nightly ritual wasn't about self-criticism, but about honest self-assessment. He understood that living a good life wasn't a matter of perfection, but of continuous alignment with one's values. By auditing his actions, he kept himself accountable and ensured he stayed on a path that mattered. To bring this practice into your life, try setting aside a few minutes each night to reflect on your day. Ask yourself, did my actions today reflect my values? Did I respond to challenges with integrity and patience? Consider what you might improve tomorrow. This isn't about judgment, but awareness. Over time, this nightly reflection becomes a powerful habit that sharpens your sense of purpose and keeps you aligned with your highest self. Many people view self-reflection as an occasional practice, but for the Stoics, it was essential to daily life. They believed that without regular self-assessment, we're at risk of straying from our values and losing sight of what truly matters. It's a reminder that living with purpose isn't about setting intentions once. It's about renewing them daily. Daily reflection is powerful, but there's one more Stoic practice that completes the journey toward a fulfilled life. In the final section, we'll discuss how accepting mortality enhances the way we live each day. What if realizing the brevity of life could unlock a deeper sense of purpose and gratitude every single day? The Stoics believed that embracing mortality is not a morbid thought, but a liberating one. By accepting that life is finite, they found clarity and motivation to live each day with intention. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself of life's brevity, writing, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This powerful perspective doesn't bring fear, it brings freedom. One of the most striking examples of this perspective is Seneca's letter to a friend, where he urges him to begin at once to live. He argues that putting off our goals and dreams only cheats us of our time, the one resource we cannot regain. This Stoic acceptance of mortality didn't make Seneca fearful. It pushed him to value each moment and avoid distractions that detract from a meaningful life. To integrate this mindset into your life, try practicing memento mori, a Stoic exercise of reflecting on the impermanence of life. It's as simple as taking a moment each day to acknowledge that time is limited and to ask yourself if you're living in a way that reflects your deepest values. This exercise isn't about dwelling on the end, it's about motivating yourself to focus on what truly matters and to approach each day as an irreplaceable gift. Many people see thinking about mortality as something to avoid, but the Stoics saw it as essential for a life of depth and purpose. When we acknowledge that time is fleeting, it sharpens our priorities and intensifies our gratitude for the present. It's a reminder to stop postponing happiness and to live fully right now. The Stoics taught us that it's not where we are that defines us, but who we are. Through resilience, values, reflection, and acceptance of life's limits, they show us how to live with purpose, strength, and peace in any environment. If you're ready to start living with this clarity, remember, the power to shape your life lies within you, not around you. As a special bonus, here's a Stoic technique that can help bring peace in moments of stress. The pause. This practice is simple but powerful. When you feel your emotions rising or you're faced with a challenging situation, take a brief pause. In that moment, remind yourself that you have control over how you choose to respond. The Stoics called this the power of judgment, the ability to choose your reaction, no matter what's happening. It's a reminder that the space between stimulus and response is where true strength lies. So next time you're overwhelmed, use the pause to reset your mindset and act with intention rather than impulse.